setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. And I wanted to talk about growing up because there are kids who really take the initiative and really start planning for the future. And then there are kids who sit there and literally do nothing and don't think about the future as well as other kids do. I read a really good blog this morning, and it's written in Business Insider, and it's by a guy, well, he's just identified as Sean, but he writes a blog called The Money Wizard. And what he talked about is that he's now at 27 years old, and he has already saved $200,000. And then he gives some advice. And he was talking about when he was 16 years old, he was digging ditches. Now, I know that when I was 16 years old, I was working in a furniture factory, trying to put my way through school, high school. And then I continued working in the furniture factory and worked as a janitor when I got into college. But this young kid, at the age of 16, was working digging ditches. Digging ditches is hard. I've done it. It takes some really guts to do. But his paycheck was $500, so that was the very beginning of his life in the financial area. So he would hang up his hard hat, he says, and after another brutal day of digging ditches under the Texas sun. But he says that day was special because it was his payday. I remember my first payday. I remember it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I am on my way. But let me tell you, when I was growing up, I worked for minimum wage, and at that time, minimum wage was only $1.53. That's hardly anything. But back then, I thought it was a lot of money. So he had his first $500, and he put it into his bank account. By the time he was 18, that $500 had grown enough to start investing in the stock market. By the age of 23, he had $100,000, and by the age of 26, $150,000, and he knew that when he reached the age of 27, he had saved nearly $200,000. So that is the basis of his storyline. That's the beginning of his storyline. But then he gives some advice. And I think it's the best advice that any young kid can give other young kids. And also adults too, because I tell you there's some adults out there who have not even started on their financial planning, and they are in a bad situation. I have clients coming into my office all the time who are literally living from paycheck to paycheck, and they're earning $200,000 a year because they have made some really bad decisions in their life. Really bad financial decisions. So the first one of advice that this young kid at 27 gives is get a degree that actually pays. Now, he's absolutely right on that, because I have seen a lot of people who have got mass communications degree and have nothing to look forward to, because that degree basically does nothing unless you're creative enough to use that degree for something. But there are not many jobs out there. So choose a degree that will get you someplace. So, and by the way, he makes a very good point. He says that these days college gets a pretty bad rap. The skyrocketing price of tuition is really concerning. And he agrees with Warren Buffett on this one, that the best investment you can ever make is in yourself. But find a degree that is going to earn you money, not something that is just something that you're going to hang on the wall and you're going to go out and sell XYZ. So find a degree that is going to get you somewhere in life. And the second one he goes, and I agree with this because I preach it almost every single day to my tax clients, is avoid consumer debt. Once you start getting into credit cards and start getting big loans on your cars, you have literally signed yourself up for several years of paying debt. And I told you this before. Debt is evil. Debt is evil. So I see clients coming into my office, and they are literally seething with debt. They've got house debt with that they're paying too much for a house that they should never be in. Their interest rates are double because they've taken out second loans on them. They're living from paycheck to paycheck and charging a lot of different things. You know, I think if I were to go back and look, I think the average amount of debt that clients put on their credit cards is about $30,000. That's way too much. Way, way, way too much. And it's really stupid. And then he says, embrace index funds. He says that, like most investors, he started investing the way that Warren Buffett invests. All of his stock picks were sure home runs. At least he thought they were. And he'd be crashing the market in no time. In reality, his not-so-hot stock choices lagged the indexes. By the end, his ambition mixed with greed cost him thousands of dollars. So this shouldn't have been a big surprise for him, but there's simply too much proof. Individual stock pickers, traders, and actively managed mutual funds just don't compete with the efficiency of index funds. That's his advice. But talk to your investment advisor. Or if you're doing it yourself, make sure you know what you're doing. Then he says, decide if your spending is actually making you happy. And this is the biggest issue that I see with my clients. Is that they're buying the Mercedes, they're buying the BMWs, they're buying the Louis Vuittons, they're buying the Rolex watches. And most of it's done on credit. But they're not happy. And they're not happy because they see all this financial weight on their shoulders. Because now they've got this debt. Do you really need that? Streamline your life, and I tell you what, you'll be able to save more money. You'll be able to do more things, and you will not have debt. Streamline your life. Get rid of all this debt. And ask yourself, buying this thing, is it going to make me happy? It may make you happy for 5 minutes until you get that credit card and see a $5,000 Louis Vuitton charge. Think about it. Do you really need it? Then he says, tax advantages are, advantageous. Use them. Now, there are people out there who are so afraid of taking the tax code and using it for their benefit. In fact, if you listen to a lot of liberals, they don't understand what this is all about, and they put other people down because the other people are not paying taxes or as much taxes because they're using the tax code to their benefit because it's a legal mechanism to do so. And the best way is set up your own 401k plans or IRAs and grow tax-free. Use that part of the tax code to your benefit. Take the deductions that you can legally. And make sure that you've got the correct backup for that. But I'm telling you, if you were to take the amount of money that you're spending on Louis Vuittons and put it into an IRA, by the time you retired, you would be able to live very comfortably and not have to worry about life. If you just took that extra money that you have each month and put it into some type of investment or retirement account, you will be able to survive when you retire. And that's coming from a 27-year-old kid. So those of you who are 40 and above and who have not done so, shame on you. Then he says, avoid lifestyle inflation. He says, as we move through life, it's easy to want to spend more and more and more money rewarding ourselves. Most people give into this temptation. Start jealously eyeing the latest purchase of their friends and begin inflating their lifestyles accordingly. And he's absolutely right, because I see it all the time. We are such emotional individuals that we see other people and what they have and we want the same thing, but we don't take it the next step and say, do I really need it? And can I use this money more wisely? Come on, guys, let's think about it. If the 27-year-old kid can think about this, so can you. And you'd better start doing so very quickly. And then he says, wealth is built through consistently, not home runs. So very true. Shortly behind getting started, one of the most common investing mistakes people make is investing too aggressively. It is an understandable mistake to make. Our minds as human beings aren't really designed to intuitively grasp the incredible power of compound interest, and trying to envision years into the future quickly fogs into a hazy blur. As a result, many beginning investors mistakenly think the only way to get rich is to take huge risks. They swing for the fences. They find themselves frustrated when their dangerous bets lose money. So as this young 27-year-old kid looks at his own path to this point, he is amazed by something simple. He hasn't hit any jackpots. In fact, he even says he hasn't even come close. But he was consistent in his saving of money, in the way that he invested, and the way that he saved, the way that he put money into his 401k plan. He says, we live in an incredible time of opportunity. The 401k account exists, tax rates are low, at least historically, and the invention of the index fund means everyone with access to a phone or computer can outperform hotshot money managers and pay only pennies to do so. To me, this is amazing that a 27-year-old kid can think of these things. Remember, he started at 16 with the $500, his first paycheck. By the time he reached 27, it's now at $200,000. Because he looked at life with common sense. He looked at his financial situation with common sense. He did not go past common sense. And he didn't overextend himself. What he did is he plans very well on every single day that he's alive with his financial situation. The problem with people that I see it is that they get so involved with what other people have, what the Joneses are doing next door, what Aunt Sue is buying in that Gucci watch. They get so caught up in what everybody else has that they forget about the money that they're spending could be used in better ways. Let me tell you, when you get... Listen, I turned 60 this last March, and I'll be 61 this coming March. And the time it took for me to get from 16 to 60 went zooming by very quickly. I've spent years and years sitting down with tax clients and going over their financial records and finding out that they're in big time trouble